I knew Christian already understood what had happened the day before, though he'd not spoken of it. And yet I noticed a difference in him since, in the way he sought me out when he could. A hand at my waist as he passed, a kiss taken when no one was watching. So when we came away from the house and took the white pebble road that curved round towards the back of the grounds, he held my hand properly, for once. The lavender fields stretched out beside us, still bare of colour this early in the season. I could not look upon them without thinking how they would soon come into bloom, and how I wished we might have our wedding seen to before they did. Not that I meant to trouble him with it when his attention had been so firmly taken up elsewhere, for I would not have it said I was pressing him for it, simply because I had nothing better to occupy my thoughts. "I saw the article this morning," I said, when the silence stretched too long. "I do hope you sent something to Cyril to thank him." He'd always been so at ease in his silence, and I'd never quite learned how to read it, whether it should be left undisturbed or filled. At times, I found it difficult to know if I ought to speak at all, and when he answered, he gave it in such a way that I couldn't tell if he meant for the conversation to carry on or be left alone. "I did," he said. His words were given and left there, and though he seemed content to let the quiet settle again, I found I couldn't do the same. I imagine he is quite pleased with himself. He did not answer at once, only gave a thoughtful nod, drawing a slow breath through his nose as his eyes moved over the landscape. It felt less like hesitation and more like consideration, as though he meant to give me only so much of it. "It has been well received, and I have had no shortage of calls about it," he said, giving a quiet scoff. "In fact, every news outlet and programme seems to think you ought to be made available to them at once. There was a time when I danced before a room full of people and loved the attention, the chance to show off, and the sound of their applause. But now I couldn't even imagine standing before the world in that way, with every eye upon me again. They should be very disappointed." His steps slowed, and he narrowed his eyes at me, a faint displeasure that I would speak of myself in that way. "Nonsense," he said, and shook his head as we moved on again. "I simply will not have them hounding you at every turn. We will decide how and when you are seen in public." We came to the old carriage house set at the edge of the field, and he went ahead of me to the door, setting his hand to it. "I have been trying to get you out here since we returned," he said, as the latch finally gave way. "You must keep an open mind, though, because I do have a vision for it." I passed him as he held the door, stepping into the cool, draughty space and letting my eyes move over it, the emptiness of it first, and then the far wall where stacks of fresh supplies had been set out. I turned back to him, motioning towards them. "What am I to make of it?" He crossed the room and took my hands, pulling me close, and then his hand was on my back, and we were waltzing in a slow and easy rhythm. "Behind you will be the mirrors." I understood it all at once what he meant to do for me, and the thought of it felt like a very bright thing set in my hands in the dark, as it had the first time he walked through my bakery door. "And here," he said, turning me and lifting his eyes above me to the far wall, "the piano and the music." He glanced at the ceiling as he guided me into another turn. "And above, lights and curtains of every colour." His steps slowed as he drew me in a little closer, and we settled into a gentle sway in place, the movement easing enough that he might speak. "And every Wednesday morning at 10 on the nose, the most sought-after instructor in Sussex will be here to see you back in form." I let my arms slip free and lifted them about his neck, holding on to him. Because it was always so with him that when I began to feel small or set aside, he found some way to remind me I wasn't. "Oh, Christy, thank you." Pulling away only enough that he might see my face again, he put his hands on my cheeks. "I realize you are bored and feeling somewhat neglected. It will not always be like this. It is only that there is much to be learned just now." I didn't care for how I came to depend upon him so for my comfort, until even this felt like something he'd been made to give because I couldn't manage myself without it, the thought of it bringing me to tears. I know that. His thumbs brushed the tears from my face. I will always see to Blackmere first, he said. But you must understand, Grace, it is only that way because you are Blackmere. You and any child of ours. There is nothing of it that stands apart from you. The change in him came all at once, from attentive to stern. The slight shift of his brow left no room for question, and I knew well enough it was not a thing he meant to speak of twice. But I will not hear of your anxieties from the staff ever again, he said. Your having difficulty adjusting to all this was not unexpected, and I am prepared for it. But you cannot keep these things from me. If you are bothered, I must know at once. I couldn't bring myself to look at him, knowing I had given him one more thing to concern himself with when he had so much already, my hands catching at his jacket instead. I admit I have been very lonely, I said, but yesterday I do not know what overcame me. One moment I was at the window, and the next I was on the floor, shaking and drenched in sweat, and sobbing. I let out a laugh at how ridiculous the whole thing really was. I think I nearly frightened Mr. Langsley half to death. His hands left my face, finding mine and drawing them away, setting them about his neck instead, before his arms came round my waist. Whatever it is, he said, I will be here to see you through it. We were home, safe, and together. And yet, so little of our time could be called our own. The rest governed as it was by expectation and form. So we made do with what little we were given, standing with our arms about one another, moving only as the wind and our breath would carry us, because for the moment it was the only place we were left free to do so,